Hello and welcome to the fifth video within the Through the Eyes of a Student Python programming tutorial series. In the last episode we talked a little bit about type functions and how they're implemented within Python. In this video I will be showing you how to create a program that utilizes those techniques we learned in the last video and all the techniques we've learned up until this point. It'll be our second program, but it's also a bit more advanced than a Hello World program, and it's just a little more fun, I guess. I don't know how long this video is going to be. If it ends up being over a certain length of time, I will end up probably segmenting it into different parts instead of one giant long video. With that being said, the program we're actually going to make is a Madlib, and I'll explain what a Madlib is in case you aren't familiar with it. It's basically a sentence that has a missing word or missing words, or even a short story that has missing word or words. And the missing word will usually just have, like, it'll say adjective or noun or food or something along those lines, and then the reader or the user will have to pick a random adjective and it plugs it into the sentence, but before the user sees the sentence, so it ends up usually being like a funny little sentence or a funny story. So for example, like on madlibs.com, you can see flip-flops are staple of any, and then it has a blank adjective, summer wardrobe, and then the user would pick an adjective, but before seeing this, and it would plug in that random adjective um, into the sentence. So I guess the first thing you would need to do is create a sentence or a short story that you want to use in your program. I've already done this because I'm pretty bad at improv, so I wanted to make one ahead of time, so I made one right before. This is just literally random sentences I made off the top of my head that I thought would be just kind of a short story, I guess. And I wanted to include things that, or each type function that we learned about, so I can show you how to include all of them into a program. So as you can see, the first sentence is going to include a place, which will be right here. The second one will include a noun that's a place, a noun that's a thing, and then this one doesn't have one, and then this one will be a number or an integer we'll request, and then the last sentence is money, so we're going to make this one a float. So I'll show you how to use a float, an integer, and a string within a program all together. So the first thing we're going to want to do is actually open up idle as normal. And I'm going to make a new file so we can start working on our program. And from this point on, just so we get in a good habit, we'll probably start putting our header, which, as I said in a previous video, it'll include like your name. It'll include your name, maybe the day it was created, and a brief description of your program or something along those lines. So I'll just put a description like uh, Madlib program that requests all right, that's a bit of a run-on sentence, but it explains everything that we are going to be doing in this program. All right, so as you recall, these are just comments, so they don't actually do anything. It's just for my own reference or for anyone else that looks at the program's reference. So you generally want to have a header like this, something similar in all of your programs that you're going to be publishing or whatnot, and then you can include comments for sections or however you want to do it throughout your program. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is probably set up our variables and our input section of the program for the Madlib. So what I want to do, so let me just pull over the sentences I made so we can look at. All right. So the first thing I want to do, since this is the first sentence, so it's a place. So I'm just gonna go in order just to make things simple. So I'm gonna make a variable for each of the inputs. So as always, we can refer back to it later. So the first one is so I'm actually just gonna put place because it will be a place, and it's gonna be an input from the user. And this input, so we're gonna want to ask the user to input a place. So you can put this however you would like to request that. So I can literally just put enter a place. So that should work for that. And then the next one would be a thing. So thing, enter a thing. And you can do this however you want or however you want it to look. I'm actually going to probably put enter a noun and then just put place in parentheses. And then the next one would be a number. So and then finally we have the one for money, which what I want, money is usually a decimal point. So I wanted to show, or I wanted to implement a float to show you how you can do it. So I guess we could just do it similarly. So enter, how could we say enter money that wouldn't, so we need a way to prompt them to enter actual, like the entire decimal for however much something would cost. A price. This is probably a terrible way to do it, but just to show you. Like you'll have to think of a better way to actually request a decimal point from the user. So now that's pretty much all we need as far as, because if you think about it, if you think about what a variable is, it's just missing information. So the only things I really need a variable for at this point would be the missing information or whatever I want the user to input. So for now, we can always come back to this, but that'll be it for the variables. And one thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to include print functions, but as line breaks. You can also use like /n after your strings or whatnot, but I'm going to like this for example, just a print with nothing in it, like just empty quotes. I'll probably do it twice here, just so that it creates a line break, or 2 line breaks in that case. And then I'm actually going to start my strings for the output. So one day I was walking through and as you can see, I want place there. But as I've explained before, the way you include a variable attached to a string, or a variable and then a string, or a string and then a variable, or what have you, you just have to concatenate it to the string. We're going to actually end the string there, or I'll put a space. And then I'll put an addition sign to concatenate, and then for I want to use the place variable, so I'll just put place, and then I'll concatenate, and then the same thing is, and that'll be all besides the period. So I guess I will just end it like that. So I close the function, so all this is within the print function. All right, and just to test the first one, let's just go ahead and run it to see, make sure we didn't make any mistakes. I'm just going to save it in my Python folder. So Madlib. So enter a noun place, Grand Canyon. Enter a noun thing, table, number 12, and there's a space there that shouldn't be, 350. One day I was walking through the Grand Canyon. That's exactly all we wanted output at this point. So we know that our current code is working, minus that space that I'm going to fix.